Hi, this is Kathy Houston. I'm on Conversations with Pearl. I am the Run Your Life coach and mentor. I help mature women figure out life and health and wellness strategies in an LGBTQ safe space. And I'm excited to talk to Pearl today.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here. Once you leave the clouds, you're under 80. Funny how there ain't no rain. All clear. Why'd it take so long to leave you in the rearview mirror? Now nobody gonna steal my sunshine or turn my blue sky gray. All I know is at the end of the day, wildflowers grow when there ain't no.
Hey everybody, this is Pearl again. We are on again with Women Successful Living, and you are on with Conversations with Pearl. And I have another great guest with us today, and I can't wait to introduce you to her. Her name is Kathy Houston, and she has she's a I'm Run Your Life coach. She's an amazing life coach. She identifies as lesbian and she, her. She specializes in health and wellness and relationship coaching for the LGBTQ plus community. She knows how hard it can be when you are struggling with your sexuality or feeling afraid to live fully as yourself. When she began to embrace herself and accept herself for who she really was, a weight was lifted off of her. And this isn't easy, right? She ended a marriage of 35 years. She downsized a home and moved in with her amazing wife and life partner. She was a retail store manager for 30 years. She went to part-time to follow her heart and create a business that she feels excited and passionate about. I can't wait to you guys hear about today. The best part is she gets to help amazing women like you and I who want to make a difference by sharing their incredible gifts and talents with the world. She certainly didn't get there alone, as we never all get there alone. She sought out the right coaches and mentors who had walked the path already and knew and understood the journey to creating a healthy, positive relationship in life. She loves to be that person for you. She graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point, you guys. You hear that? At West Point. She served in the U.S. Army. She's a certified coach through the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation. I'm honored to have her here today. We're going to have some great conversation today. And it's always awesome to have another coach with us. So Kathy, welcome to the Conversations with Pearl podcast.
Hi, thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yay, I'm so excited here. And thank you so much. I don't want to forget for your service. I'm a Marine Corps brat, so I really appreciate your service. And West Point, that's
Yes.
cool.
Yes, I was the fourth class of women to graduate.
Fantastic. Congratulations. That's a big, big deal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really, really awesome. So we're going to just have some fun conversation today, just kind of get right into it. But I like to start out kind of going back when we were younger, back when we were little, and, that little inner child inside of us. So I want to know what life was like growing up for you. And then, with that life and growing up, how did it lead you to where you are today?
Okay, great. I was born in New York, only child. Raised in Florida. I graduated actually from Sarasota High School here in Florida, and then went off to West Point from there. Then we moved again. My parents moved to Texas. I stayed in the Army for 6 years with my husband. I got out for Desert Storm. I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and I already had a son. So I said, oh, okay, can't go away to war, the first Desert Storm. So I got out and I transitioned into civilian life and landed in retail just because that was the thing to do. And so we moved to Florida with Target. When Target opened up Florida in 1991, we ended up in Florida. And I worked for Target for 10 years, Staples, Linens and Things, Bed Bath & Beyond, all as a store manager, department managers, store managers, helping people, helping customers, helping my team members, building a team, getting things done. That's kind of what led me to the coaching side of things. I had a sexual awakening at the age of 45, which is very late in life. We call that late bloomer. And so that threw me upside down. changed my whole world upside down. Here we go. Married, 2 kids. Kids are in college. We're upside down in the house. Oh my gosh, what do I do now? So that was a very tough road to hoe. And it wasn't easy. It took years to solve it, work through it with my husband, with my family, with my kids, and eventually started dating women, and then found my wonderful partner, Christy, now. And she and I are very happy together. My husband and I are separated. My daughter lives with my husband. We're on speaking terms, still friends, got family and friends to take care of. I help take care of my mom down in Bradenton. She's in assisted living now. So that is another thing where I travel to Bradenton and take care of her. So the coaching life works out well for experience, for timing, for being able to take time for yourself, your family. You write your own schedule. So that has been great for me. I got my certification, and I'm so excited to be starting down this journey and this path. And it's been a ride. It's been a ride.
I'm sure it's been a ride. So tell me about that, that journey, like you've, all these many years of being married, and then all of a sudden, like you said, you're that late bloomer, like, so for the audience that's listening, that might be, kind of in that spot of they're hearing us share this story today, and maybe they're that late bloomer, like, what was it for you that what happened as you came to that understanding and that realization that, hey, this is really who I am, and this is my life. And then how did your family take it? Like, how did you share it with your family, and how, I'm sure there was all kinds of emotions that happened. So tell us a little bit about that.
So after my discovery, I said, okay, now what? Now what do I do? Okay, I know this now. Now what? I've got a husband, kids. We're upside down on the house. They're there. The kids are in college. One's graduating. One's in college. So I didn't do anything. I just pushed it down. Just push it down. Didn't acknowledge it. Just stressed it out, pushed it down. Of course, then you internalize all that stress. It's not healthy. So for 5 years, I did that. Just pushed it down, ignored it, didn't tell anybody. Then after that, I hit 50, and that was the magic number, and that was it. Okay, I've got to be true to myself. Kids are both graduated from college now. The house is in better shape. Our finances are in better shape. Now is the time to have that discussion. And I had that discussion with my husband, and I asked for a divorce. And he said, and I said, no, I'm not seeing anybody. No, I'm not in a relationship. I just know this is who I am, and this is who I need to go be. He wasn't surprised. So in fact, when I came out to several of my friends and people that I've known and stuff, no one was surprised but me. And I was like, okay, why couldn't have anybody told me? Even my mom. My mom was like, yeah, we kind of knew. And I'm like, Mom, seriously? So, yeah, it's okay, great. Everybody knew but me. And then several of my good friends were like, they said, Kathy, duh. And I was like, what? Okay, thanks, guys. So my husband's like, no, you don't need to get a divorce. Let's work this out. Let's see what we can do. I don't want to end this. At this point, it was, we were like year 29 at this point. And I said, okay, and I said, well, I'm going to go on dating apps and websites, and I'm going to date women. Well, of course, he didn't think that was going to happen. Nope, not going to happen. Okay, no problem. So yes, it does happen. And I actually start dating a woman. And then we got to process all that: jealousy, anger, communication. When do I get to go see her? When am I supposed to be home? What's expectations? A ton of communication. He actually met her, and we actually went out. We had her over to the house. It was actually an enjoyable relationship. He didn't have any relationship with her at all, but he got to know her, and then it was okay. And so there was no threat to the marriage. There was no threat. So that was okay, and that was fine. But that took a lot. That took a lot of communication. I mean, we had to sit down at the kitchen table and just say, okay, what are you feeling? What's happening? Talk to me. Because as a man, he's holding everything in. He's not talking, and I'm like, okay, what just upset you? What are you going off about? And because he would transfer it to something else, but really it stemmed back from the root of the situation, which was a date night or something had happened. So as we worked through all that communication, tons of communication, I'm in counseling at the time as well. I'm seeing a therapist at the time. And so I'm working on myself. He and I are working together to try and communicate through everything. He didn't want to do any couples counseling. He didn't want to do any marriage counseling. He didn't want to have any counseling. There's nothing to do with it. No. So I break up with that woman, and then I start dating again. Of course, he doesn't think I'm going to date again. I start dating again, and I meet someone very special, Christy, who I'm with now. And we hit it off immediately. She was married also at the time, another late bloomer. And we knew we were going to be together. The question was just how, when, and where. So she left her husband first, and then I left my husband. And the leaving was difficult, very difficult for him. He was surprised. And I don't know how or why, but he just thought we were always going to be together. I mean, it was a total of 35 years. So that's what happened with that. And then my son is gay and moved away to Connecticut, separated from the family, not involved in what's going on in the day to day. So he was fine with it. He's like, okay, mom, duh, And then my daughter, though, she was at home with dad and I during a lot of the conversations, during a lot of the struggles. And she was very upset that I should have known. I should have reacted sooner. I should have ended the marriage as soon as I knew. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? What about this? What about that? What about dad? And now still she lives with dad in the apartment and my husband, and she still feels like it's her responsibility to take care of him. And that even though she's a grown adult and she should be out on her own, she's not. She still feels like it's her responsibility to take care of him. And who's going to take care of him? You're not here anymore. He has no one. I'm the only one. So she's kind of carrying this burden that she's made for herself, basically, to take care of her dad.
That is a lot. That's a lot. Like, I guess I can't imagine like sitting down and having that conversation and, especially with your husband and be like, and then having a date, and him having to come to the realization. I think he probably was like, oh, maybe he, I can't speak for him, but it sounds like maybe he was like, oh, maybe it's just a phase, maybe it's just a phase that will kind of go away. Right. And then when you start realizing, and it's interesting how like all your friends or some of your family kind of knew, but they're like, and you're like, what? Why didn't I know? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And then you fast forward to your daughter who now she feels that, she's got to take care of, be that nurturer and I'm sure, you and I, both as coaches, we have a lot that we can feed into that about, about where that comes from and things like that. But it happens naturally. Sometimes we want, as women, we want to take care. We want to ease the burden, right? We want, it's going to be okay. So I think you're so brave. I think, bravery comes to my mind as you share that. Because, I mean, that's, like you said, a 30-year marriage and, 2 kids. And it's a big step to say, you know what, for a long time, I haven't felt like myself. I haven't felt like who I am. And to step into that, for our listeners that are listening, it's really powerful when you go after a dream or you step into who you really are and you do it without apologizing. This is who I am. This is what makes me happy. Yep. And these are the steps I have to do. And, it's kind of the thing where come along with me, or I'm going to have, I call them fences around our relationship because I know what I need to do to be happy. Right.
Yep. That is absolutely true. And I kind of have to put some fences around the relationship with my daughter because of her situation that she's in and trying to control the situation. And she's still dealing with anger and frustration and just not accepting the situation. It's coming along, and some of our fences are out farther now. We are able to communicate. We're able to talk. We're able to text and have some conversation on the phone. But every now and then she'll still go into that, bad wife, bad mother, you did everything wrong, scenario. And those are her issues, as we know as coaches. Those are her issues that she's got to work through, and how she's going to figure out how she's going to be her own person. And she still hasn't figured that out yet. Yeah. But as far as my husband's concerned, we are cordial. We still have some financial ties together that we take care of. We have our children. We have my mom. He visits my mom. It's his mother-in-law, and they're very close. So we still have a good basic relationship where we get along and take care of whatever we need to take care of, and talk on a day-to-day basis. Just, hey, how's your day? Hey, how are you? But that took a while. To get there.
And I think it's really important, especially like my parents divorced after 47 years of marriage. 41 years of marriage. Sorry. My dad did some things that rightfully so, my mother would not be communicating with them any longer. But I think it's really important if you can, especially like in a situation where you are, where if you were coming into yourself and you're like, you know what, this hasn't been right, and I need to go on my separate way and really, really live my life I want to live, and be able to have that communication and keep those relationships built, I think is really powerful when you can do that. Because I think like when you have kids, and that this is for anybody who's going through a divorce, if there's a way that you can make that happen, it makes it more compatible. It's a better relationship afterwards. And it's, think of if you fast forward and think about like weddings and things like that are happening, you're going to be around each other because you share kids, right? So being able to make it, that kind of relationship, I think is really commendable to you and your ex-husbands. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah. And my daughter can see how happy I am now though, too. So that helps her to deal with it. She can see how happy I am as a person, how happy I and Christy are together. She loves Christy. She thinks she's great. So that has helped a lot. For her to see how happy I am now. And then I am a different person than I was as her mother in a relationship that I wasn't happy in. And that now I'm a better person about it, and for actually taking that step and doing what I needed to do. And Christy's ex-husband is exactly the same way. He actually thanked me for making her so happy. And he was so glad that I was there for her and that we were having a great relationship, and that if I ever broke her heart, he would kill me. But
so cool.
But that was their relationship was different than my husband and I's, but their relationship had already separated, and they were kind of roommates and friends in the same house. So it was easier for her to leave. And he already knew her situation and where she stood as far as her sexuality was concerned. So we actually had a couple of dinners and conversations, and he actually thanked me for making her so happy. And he was so glad that she found someone, and was just like, hey, thank you.
I think that's amazing. I love stories like that. So taking your what you've gone through in your life, and now you've become a coach and you're working on coaching. Tell us a little bit about, who's your ideal person you like to coach with, and like, is there, some coaches like to work with people in business? Like where are you finding yourself landing with your coaching, and like when somebody comes to you, what can they expect when they sit down with you as a coach?
Okay. My ideal client is looking like the mature woman, not necessarily LGBTQ, but anybody who wants to work on their health and wellness, and as far as their life balance goes, and having a successful life and what that looks like. And then relationship building, of course, because that's where my strength comes and my uniqueness comes from, that relationship turmoil that I went through that puts me in a place to deal with that. I offer a new life story program, and it's some serious questions to ask ourselves, to ask the client to ask themselves. It's a questionnaire to kind of go through and say, what are your challenges? What's the biggest obstacle? What if that obstacle were removed? What would it mean to you? What is it costing you to keep doing what you're doing? Some of these powerful questions to sit down and think about. What do you want? Where are you? What does happiness mean for you? What does it look like? What's that great outcome? What does that phenomenal relationship feel like, look like, sound like? And then we just start on a program. I have free 6 and 12-month programs. We can start anywhere on those. We can start in relationship. We can start health and wellness. We can start on new life story in your job. We can start in your new life story for success. The new life story program can hit all different angles of somebody's life, whatever they want to work on, what the client wants to work on. And we just tailor it through the new life story program. And we create a roadmap. And the roadmap is actually an acronym for the process. And ROADMAP, roadmap. And we create a roadmap, and an action plan obviously is in there. And I hold you accountable, of course, is what coaches do. We hold you accountable. Did you do what you were supposed to do last week? No, you didn't. Okay, stop. Let's do that now. Or why didn't you? Or what stopped you? What self-talk was going through your head when you didn't do your commitment? So pain and pleasure, what pain were you avoiding? So those kind of things. Again, a 3, 6, or 12-month program, 4 sessions a month, 50-minute sessions each on the phone. And we set up the program and do the questionnaire and go from there. And what the client, of course, it's, we co-create and the client directs where they want to go. And then I help get them there.
I love that. And, it's really great. Like, hold that accountability part is a huge part, as a coach to really, because when you're being coached, you want somebody who's going to be like, not just let you get away with the homework or get away with the fluff. Like, you want to be held accountable. You're coming to that coach for a reason. Like for me, when I coach women, I really want them to, I'm really about self-care and having that, I call it, so for everybody who's listening, I call it fences, not boundaries. And here's why. I want you to have some fences around your life, but I also want those fences to create harmony in your life. So if you think about an orchestra, everybody can't play at the same time, because you won't be in harmony together, right? But if you can have some harmony in your life, and you do that by what you fence around your life. And I say fences because, like, you may put a boundary around a relationship, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, sometimes boundaries can sound like a hard line in the sand. But if you have a fence, every fence typically has a gate you have to get in and out of, right? So you can kind of open the gate and be like, okay, you know what? Today, Kathy, you and I, things are going good. We've talked about it. Let's sit down on the porch and let's just talk a little bit more about the relationship. And that way it's not saying it's a hardcore, it's done. You can open the fence. Now, there are some relationships, and I can tell you with my dad, my relationship with my father is hardcore. The fence is locked. The fence is not being opened back up because of things that he did. But there, you have that opportunity to say yes or no, and creating that fence and around what your goals are, what you're striving to achieve, what relationships you want, like what you share with your relationship, as you come into yourself, whether it's late bloom or you say, you know what, I'm getting ready to retire and I don't want to sit in a flipping rocking chair on a front porch and do nothing. What do I want to do? And women over 50 are a big significant part of who are entrepreneurs today. Right.
Yeah. We're starting our own businesses. Like, I left 30 years of retail. You had other jobs as well. And we are a growing group of people. And as women, especially the mature woman, she's got some money set aside. She's ready to go. She's going to pursue her life dream. But then what is it? A lot of us have that in the back of our head, but some of us don't. And some women don't have that in the back of their head of what do they really want to be? What do they really want to do now that they're grown up?
Right.
Now the kids are grown. Now, what do you want to do? What's your life look like? The empty nest thing happens. There's retirement issues. There's savings. There's 401ks. There are all those kind of financial pressures that come on. So maybe we do need to start another business, and we're not done yet because we're going to have to work a little while longer because we don't have that next day that ready to go yet.
And I think for those that are listening, like the women that are listening that have not hit 50, that are below 50, I think the lesson, if I could go back to my 30s, I mean, I'm glad I'm past my 30s, but if I could go back and say, you know what, start now what's in your heart, right? If you have that spirit and you want to do something, nobody's telling you have to stop your job right now. What we're saying is, if there's something you like to do, whether it's something to do with, a company that's already established, or something you want to build and create, there's no reason not to start now, and spend 8 to 10 hours a week on it and build it small, because as you do get older and if you go down a path to having children or you don't want to have kids and you just, you want to be able to enjoy your life later on. And like you and I both said, we have that flexibility to say, hey, I'm going to go here. I'm going to do this. I think it's really powerful to be able to say, I've created this for me and get it started now. I love that.
Yeah, I would say that for my 30s as well. I would also say start your savings for retirement. Start your financial independence. Make sure your life insurance, your wills, all those things are taken care of in our 30s and even in our 20s. When we don't even think about it, we don't want to think about it. It's, that's when you're old. No, you never know what can happen.
So true.
Life is short.
It really is.
Take care of your finances, your wills, your 401k, your Roth IRAs, whatever you're going to do. Make sure that your family is taken care of if you don't come home.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think getting everything in order, like you were saying, financial stuff in order when we're younger, sets us up for when we're going in the future. Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to talk to you. Let me ask you this question. It's a really fun question, but who influenced you? Who was the biggest influence in your life and why were they a big influence in your life?
I want to say that one of my store managers was a very big influence in my life. His name was Don McGinnis. And he was when I started in Target, I was young in my 20s, late 20s. He was already in his mid 40s. And he was a Black man and as a store manager in retail, still not a great time to be doing that. So he would go downstairs and they'd ask to see the manager and he'd say, I'm the manager. No, the white manager, and he went through some of that. And so that was the 90s, not that long ago. So we did, he taught me a lot about how to be a manager, how to take care of people. He would call me in the office, sit me down, and say, okay, this is your leadership experience that you have. Obviously coming from the Army, this isn't the Army. This is different now. So, you have to be more empathetic and more understanding. You have to understand your employees. Like some of my employees were 17, 18 years old, So a lot of that growing phase of my life of being a manager and learning how to be a manager came from him. And then my mother is another role model in my life for how to do what you want to do. She 4 husbands, just me though, as a child, just me, but 4 different husbands. Her soulmate and love of her life passed away much older than she was. And so after that, she married her friends. So because you're supposed to get married. So, and then her last friend, her friend that she has now, that they are not married, and he's 90 and he visits her several times a week. They've been together for 17 years. So just that, be who you are and find your person. She knew she would never find her soulmate and her person again, but she enjoyed who she was with, and if she found a connection and they wanted to live together and do all that, then in her mind, they were supposed to be married. So they got married, but that was fine. She enjoyed it. I mean, another one passed away and then, she's been with this man for 16 years. So she lived her life. She lived her life taking care of others. She took care of 2 women, one mother-in-law that went Alzheimer's dementia into the nursing home. And then she took care of another woman in Sarasota who was an old family friend from when we had lived in Sarasota. She actually moved back to take care of her. And to her final days, she had no family, no children. She was a widower. And my mom received her reward on earth with the inheritance, which has set my mom up to be able to live in a very nice assisted living facility and be very well taken care of as she approaches her final years from a friend that she took care of. So the rewards and the system, it comes back to you,
Yes, that is so sweet. It reminded, when you talk about your mom and her friend, it reminded me. So my father-in-law passed away, about 25 years ago. And it was just a few months before we found out we were going to be adopting our oldest child. And so about a year and a half, 2 years later passed, and Pete's always around. Mr. Pete was always around, and so she would come down. We at that point, she was starting to come down to visit us in the winter months. And so I was talking to her one day on the phone. It was the cutest conversation. When you were talking about your mom, it reminded me of the conversation. My mother's like, I call her my mom, but my mother-in-law, she was like, I just want you to know that, we don't do anything. And I said, well, well, why not? But I don't need to know. She goes, I could never tell Amy, who's my sister-in-law, right? She's, was like 12 years old when I met my husband. We've been together like almost 40 years. I said, why can't you talk to Amy about this? Oh, I can't talk to Amy. I go, why? Because her dad well, yeah. I'm like, just forget that stuff, but it was so cute now. Yeah. So her and Mr. P were always, it was just the sweetest thing. They'd go for coffee every morning. He'd pick her up. They'd go for coffee and donuts at Thornton's up in Buffalo area. So just a sweet story. I love when you said that about your mom. And I just love the two people. And then think about a manager, like I could see that, when you come out of the service, my dad, he did 2.5 tours of Vietnam. When he came home, it was just like, I felt like I was living with a drill sergeant, And so I could see that too, like what an adjustment you had to make, because the way you talk to those 17, 18 years old are quite different than, when you're in the service, but there's a balance there to find that and to have a manager that sees your potential and say, listen, you're a great manager. And if you can change these kind of things, you'll be an even better.
Right. Yeah.
That's really powerful. I love that story.
Yeah. So he was still around to see me make store manager.
Awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic. And, you and I were together yesterday on an event that a good friend of ours, Georgie Franks, does. And Network of Flow. So for those that are listening, our friend, she created this Network of Flow. We go on a boat once a month and we network on the water, right? We're about 10 people on 5 different boats. We go to the boat, then we stop for lunch. Typically we stop at a restaurant, but yesterday we had the honor of stopping and learning about a new museum that's coming to town for the Black History Museum in Tampa. And when you were saying and describing what the manager had was just not that long ago, it reminded me yesterday sitting there and hearing the stories of only back in 1971, they're still doing with segregations at school and things like that. So to be thinking about your manager and how somebody would walk up to them and be like, I know I want this white man, I think it's powerful for those that are listening to understand that, like somebody shared yesterday, if we can have these open conversations about how it really wasn't that long ago that these things were happening and we still have a lot of changes to come. So I love that. That's also somebody you look up to, somebody who's been through so much and he could pay forward what he's learned too. So I think it's really
he was an extremely wonderful mentor. And of course, then the same thing would happen to me when I'm the store manager. I'd come and say, yes, how can I help you? No, I'm the man manager, the male manager. Yeah. Well, I'm the store manager. Thank you. How can I help you? And then we get on the subject or whatever happens. So that still happens too.
Yep, still does happen too. Yep. So I want to ask you, what over the next 2 years, I know you're kind of new, launching your coaching business and everything. What over the next year to 2 years, where do you see yourself going with your business and any kind of outreach that you're doing in the community?
I definitely want to have a full clientele situation by then. And I'd also like to reach out on podcasts, then now start to branch out and then maybe do some workshops in some local agencies, like a local yoga studios, just offer free little workshops on this, that, or the other thing, just small little bites of workshops. I would definitely like to be doing that by then. My outreach will probably be in the LGBTQ community in St. Pete with the Pride Center there and just offering services there for free for, people that need coaching, that need any kind of service for free in that arena with the LGBTQ Pride Center in St. Pete.
I love that. And it's such a great need. I love the idea of going to yoga studios too, but identifying, communities that you can, that it's so important. One of the things I learned as a business owner is to always give back, right? To always pay it forward to your community and always to give back. So I think it's really powerful. So I have a couple of questions as we're nearing the end of our time together, which has been fun. I can't believe it flies by so quickly. I have 2 questions. One is, what does harmony in your life mean to you? And then the second question to follow up with that is, what is your ideal time for self-care? I often say, people hear me talk about bubble baths is not self-care. Go get clean in the tub, throw little bubbles in, that's great. But really, what are you doing to pour into your cup within yourself? But out of that, like, what does that create? How does that create harmony for you? And what does that look like for you?
Harmony for me looks like a happy, well-balanced day. We choose our happiness. As soon as our feet hit the floor in the morning, we choose. And it's our choice how that day is going to go. The personal methods that I use is the Morning Miracle by Hal Elrod. The 6 morning steps, it's called SAVERS. That's an acronym. It's not anything I came up with. It is a tried and true method. It is a website. It's called the Morning Miracle. It has a book on it. You meditate, you journal, you exercise, you visualize, you actualize, and then you go. And you do it as soon as your feet hit the floor, that 5-second rule kind of thing. Before 5, you're moving and you're in action. So that is how I start my day in the morning. It's an hour long. It can be 45 minutes to an hour. That is how I do my self-care every day. And then I go back and read. Because the journal, I do an app you can do an app for the journaling function. You can do an app for the 7 minutes of exercise every day. They have little 7-minute exercises for the app. You can do obviously you can do an app for the meditation and the yoga. There's all kinds of things that we can get online to put into your morning routine, and it centers you, grounds you, you're focused for the day. My work has actually started an hour later in the morning, my part-time job that I still do my part-time job. And that has been wonderful for me to have that extra time to, and really get in touch with what I'm doing for the day. My to-do list is done. I'm ready to go. I've got my whole week in front of me. And it's, I'm going to say again, the Morning Miracle by Hal Elrod. It is the way to go.
So you guys all heard it here. It's called the Morning Miracle by Hal
Elrod.
Hal Elrod. So go ahead and check that out. And so now tell us, before we do the question, tell us, Kathy, where everybody can find you at. What's the best way to reach you?
My website is runyourlife.biz. And then the best way to reach me is either Gmail or phone. My Gmail is runyourlife1013@gmail. And then my phone is 813-380-5410. Now on my website, I have the Calendly app where you can book a calendar to book a session. We can book a discovery session. Absolutely. 50 minutes of coaching to figure out if we're a good fit, another follow-up after that. And then that's where you schedule your actual sessions, the reoccurring sessions is through that website.
Awesome. And we're going to put all those links together when we broadcast out this video, the audio and the video. So I'm excited to share all that with everybody.
Great.
And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to do our Better Questions, Better Life. So all those that are listening know that we do this every time. My friend Carol Gill and her friend Diane Allen, they created these cards. I meditate on these cards. I journal on these cards. I get no kickback. So if you want to go to Better Questions, Better Life and order them, just go ahead and do that because I get nothing for them. I just think they're amazing cards. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle the cards and Kathy's going to tell me when to stop. And then we're going to ask her the card question. So here we go. Kathy, tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Hey, she likes to go deep in the deck. Ooh, and she's got a deep one. How are you focusing on your vision?
So focusing on my vision right now is me as a successful, full-cliented coach, financially independent. My spouse doesn't have to work. We travel and we give back. So that is the vision. How I'm getting there is through I have my own coach as well. A coach always needs a coach. So I have my own coach and we are working on that vision together to build a clientele, to work on that. And then of course, all the networking that I'm doing, all of that focus. I have created a business plan, of course. I have a plan for 2022. It's actually in a circle. And it's a circle vision that you make for the whole year. And it's got all the parts of your life and all the things you want to do around the big circle and then all the little circles for the whole year. And that's my vision. It's almost like a vision board. You've got the vision purse. Yeah. So I do the vision board of the whole vision for the whole year. So that is what I do to focus on my vision.
I love it. And you guys all heard it here. So vision vision boards, vision purses. Those are always a big thing. That's a big thing for me. So I love that. I love that you're planning and thinking and then breaking down how to get there. I think it's really, really powerful. And all my listeners that are listening know, I can't tell you how many times we do this show that we hear coaches say, I have a coach. Coaches need coaches. So, if you're listening, Kathy is a great coach, of course, myself. So don't hesitate at all, to reach out to a coach. Hopefully it's somebody that's here, myself, or, Kathy, or any of our guests. Reach out on all the links that we're going to attach for Kathy as well. If you've heard something today that she shared, just, feel free to reach out to Kathy and let her, have that conversation with you. It's a great conversation to have. And those that are listening, if you want a little taste of what it means to be a shero in your life around self-care, every Sunday evening at 8 p.m., we have a meetup community on Zoom, and it's called our Shero League. And our Shero League is a community of women who are concentrating on their self-care, on putting themselves first unapologetically and without guilt, so that they can create that harmony and have fences that are right for them in their life. So if you want to know more about that, come visit us at wsliving.com, or you can get the link by messaging me as well. So with that said, I want to just remind everybody that we come into this world as a beautiful, little rough on the outside oyster. But as you open the oyster and you start cracking it open, inside is this beautiful pearl. And I want you all to go out and I want you to find your inner pearl to greatness. Have a great day. And Kathy, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Pearl. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, sunshine. Good to see you.